All right, so somebody makes a return in the recent Ready to Love, and we got to talk about how we feel about it. All right, welcome back to the channel. My name's Kevin.
I'm Tarsha.
This is Conversations with the Crawleys, and we have conversations about faith, family, relationships, and we do recaps, reviews, and commentaries on our favorite shows. This one is all about Ready to Love in Miami. So if this is content that you enjoy, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe, hit the like, request notifications,
And share.
and we'll see you in the comments. Consider becoming a member and checking out the merch store. All right. So we had the devastating dismissal last week. Not devastating, but it was expected. Of DeMario going home.
It was devastating.
He was devastated. He was more devastated by the fact that Jeffrey had the little peck. But
Right.
so Tommy meets up with all the fellas in the church/bar/lounge. And he gives an assignment, but he leaves out something that we normally hear from Tommy at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Normally he lets them know who's in control, but Tommy don't say who's in control this time.
Nope. Tommy's in control.
So there's a curveball coming. But he gives the assignment, hey, connect with your top connections, really dig into, find out what they like, what they don't like, make sure that these connections are worth connecting with, basically.
Basically, he's like, what side of bed they sleep on? Let's get down to the nitty gritty.
Figure that out.
I'm like, well, if they're single, they might be sleeping in the middle of the bed.
And that's if some of them got a bed. I don't know.
He says so.
Because the way Corvaya was talking, she was like, if you ain't living on your own,
And struggling in Miami.
So Corvaya probably thinking that some of them just got an air mattress that they be sleeping on. We'll see. But he does say that there's also going to be a group dinner later in the week. So Blake, Suanne, Cynthia, Mercedes, Lyndon, and Anthony, in other words, half the cast, goes on a group date at an obstacle course.
Mm-hmm. Which it sounded like it was fun. So they really was just trying to get to know each other and see another side of them. And so they even had water guns. And Blake wasn't having it. He was like, okay, we were supposed to be doing this obstacle course. And now everybody's just out doing their own thing and water guns. Enjoy yourself, man. Let go. You are no longer in the military. Let it go.
Now, I was a little concerned just being married to a black woman for over 27 years. I was a little concerned with the water guns and hair, just because I know.
Yeah, because someone did mention it. I don't know which one mentioned it. She's like, I'm out here in this heat in Miami with the humidity.
And you spraying water?
But they seem to be spraying it like on their t-shirt and stuff. From what I could see when they would stop,
they probably had that conversation beforehand. It was like, look,
like, don't be playing.
From here on up, we fighting. From here on down, we playing. Play, fight.
Ain't that the truth?
So,
shoot, I try to resolve that quickly. My hair is now natural.
So, Anthony does say that he's strong with Cynthia and Mercedes. Those are who he considers his top, right? But he's playing Connect 4 with Mercedes. And she does mention she's feeling a little intimidated by the fact that he has a daughter. And that's a situation she doesn't necessarily know how to navigate into.
And because she keeps indicating, he's established. And obviously she's not at that place yet.
Right.
So, but he was like, I'll help you figure it out if you're the right one.
Right.
And sometimes that's been the case for a lot of women where they decided to marry someone that already has kids. And obviously he's further along where in his career where he has a home. And those are the things that you can look at to see how well stable he is, especially if he's open to having more children. And that's something she's desiring. But she does say she likes him. Yeah.
So it's not like she's intimidated and pulling away. She's just being honest and saying, I'm intimidated, but I still want to know.
And nurse practitioners, they can make as much as doctors.
Doctors.
Because they pretty much the ones that see everybody.
Pretty much. Lyndon meets with Suanne, and she's like, you took a long time to use my number. And he's like, well, you took a long time to respond back.
And I think because of his schedule, he works at night.
Yes.
And so she's like, you tapping into me while I'm asleep. So I don't think there's anything there. The way she indicating, there ain't nothing there either. Right. So.
And I don't think he's that pressed about her either.
No, he was like, okay, well, I kind of understand that there's not going to be anything happening.
Right.
So I guess London just like, I'm gonna move on, see where my other connections are.
Yeah.
And that's when he gets to sitting with Mercedes.
Yes.
And he's like, do you like me? She's like, like you like you or like you?
So we've said before how, or I've said before how Sue-Ann, I think it was Sue-Ann I was saying, and even Jeffrey to some respect, but Sue-Ann was giving like pick-me vibes. Mm-hmm. Lyndon gave him pick-me vibes. Because remember, he tried to kiss Marcia.
Marcia, yes.
And now he's like, do you like me? Do you like me?
And she's like, as a friend.
Yes.
I think you make a good friend, but I'm not seeing anything else additional from it.
So, Blake and Sue-Ann meet up also as part of this date. And he says he doesn't have a wall up with her, that he can be honest with her and what have you. They kiss, and she's like, well, I got a whole boyfriend now.
Is that what that means? Just be careful. Just because people kissing on you don't mean you got a whole boyfriend. You got a potential of a boyfriend, but not a whole boyfriend.
If that. But okay.
So,
yeah, because she says that they are past the flirting stage now. Okay. Do you?
Hey, if they can continue to solidify something, I think they both have the right temperament for each other.
Yes.
And because
they match each other.
They match each other,
not
right?
Anybody else.
You know, because she is an attorney, so she understands. There's certain levels that you have to understand laws and procedures, and he's very about following laws and procedures. So I can
He's very strict, yeah.
How they can
very rigid. I think that's the better word. He's very rigid.
Yes, so they can match up.
Yes. Blue meets up with Jeffrey, and she says her best connection is Blue and Mark Anthony.
She says so. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like she's playing a role. If we want to talk about people who are trying to stay on the show, even when he responds to her, I just don't see anything there. And it just seems so surfacey and
yes. Now, I've defended Jeffrey in some respects, but I also can agree. Yeah, you're a little. Yeah. But I also recognize and like, yeah, I can see that there's a surface. There is a. I don't want to say fake, but there's a representative that she hasn't left at the door. If we can put it in that.
I don't feel like she's been vulnerable
or authentic.
Right. And so in the case with Blue, when they're talking, even when she was talking about their vision boards or whatever, I didn't see it correlating. And, you know, even the way he responds to her about like, well, how do you see me fitting in that picture? And he was like, well, we could figure out a spot. Like, I gotta figure out where I would put you. I'm like,
let me find it in the magazine and see if I can pitch you in my, yeah.
So, you know, I don't know how his relationship is with his child, because he said his child moves and travels more than he does.
Right.
So, but I was like, okay, Blue, keep going. Move on to your next connection.
Right, because she does say she wants him to be more assertive. And Blue doesn't strike me as someone that is not assertive or that has to be told to be assertive when he wants something. He doesn't strike me that way. It could be because, of course, we're only seeing snippets, but he doesn't strike me as somebody that would pull back when he really wants something. I think he's not being assertive with Jeffrey because he's kind of like, we'll see what happens. If it's here, it's here. It's not. That's just my take.
Yeah,
we'll find out from Blue later on, I'm sure.
Yeah, I guess we'll get more in depth into it. And when you're on a show, you're trying to figure out, am I your highest connection?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people are side-eyeing people, because my understanding from her, Mark Anthony was on her top of her list. And the way she interacts with him, it seems more balanced. You don't have to tell him, and the same thing with you. the way you respond to him is totally different how she's
And
responding.
we'll talk about Mark Anthony in a moment, because there's some stuff at that dinner that was said that I was like, interesting. All right, so then Lyndon goes out with Morgan, and Lyndon is wearing, according to Morgan, hoochie daddy shorts.
I think they were appropriate size. Now, if you're talking about basketball shorts, they tend to be longer.
Right.
I mean, they vary. You could have somewhere to their knee. I'm just...
They weren't cashew huggers, walnut huggers. They weren't hugging.
They weren't hugging him.
Right.
But I believe she was talking about the length.
And I don't think the length was inappropriate or just weird or anything.
You're in Miami. So, and they can vary. There are some that comes to the knee for men, or they come mid-thigh. So I think she may not be used to seeing men made with shorter shorts.
It's possible.
But I mean, he looked fine, and she wasn't like, maybe it was a way of flirting, making conversation.
Yeah.
Because they were having really good conversation and talking, and her trying to decipher between Tony
and Lyndon, because they are two different individuals.
Very different.
Completely. She does say that he is understated, where in comparison, Tony is very overstated. Tony tells you what's on his mind. And
I think Tony gives a bigger presence when he walks in the room.
Yes. Yeah. She does talk about how she's never really been in love, and she was in a long-term relationship, but she knew she didn't love him. I just don't understand. This is just me. I don't understand being in long-term relationships and you never getting to the point of loving that person. Because if you know that you're not going to fall in love with this person, stop wasting your time.
Yeah, and I think it's funny. Everybody's definition of love is changing.
True.
I'm like, I feel like there's supposed to be a standard definition of love, but everybody got their own take on what love is.
Right.
So
I want to know what love is.
Okay. I mean, literally, because if you could say you're going to spend 7 years with someone but don't love them, and you're at some point you're going to break up.
7 years, that is gone.
So after the first year, you don't love them.
And you don't see the potential for it, and it's not, and you can't put your finger on and say this would help me to love you more. It's just like, nah, it ain't it. Move on. Sorry, that's just me.
Well, I think people are getting more comfortable of just sharing space and not being alone, and then it's
I can do bad all by myself.
But if that's the case, then why don't you just go ahead and stay with them? It's like, it's like, why? If you're going to make that decision, you 7 years in, or is it up to the other person who finally cuts it off because you couldn't cut it off? I don't know. It's not my space.
It's not my problem.
Yeah.
All right. So she does say that she does enjoy her date with Lyndon, but she is, Tony is more about where he wants him to be. She's like, Lyndon's cool. They have good conversation and good vibe, but she gets, paraphrasing it, she gets a better sense of Tony, what Tony is looking for out of their relationship and what Tony wants for them as a couple.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's too early to be thinking that. I get it, but I I think she should be looking at it that Tony knows what he wants once he picks the wife for him.
True.
And she's inserting her name in Tony's blank spot.
True. Gotcha.
Because what if she's not picked?
Okay.
You see what I'm
I hear you.
Now, if you want to ask London, do you see Lyndon? If you want to ask Lyndon, like, okay, are you ready for marriage? And what does that look like for you? Mm-hmm. I think she needs to be asking the right questions. Yeah. Tony is very vocal, like, I'm ready to get married. This is what I see. I have everything else set. I'm just waiting for, my woman in her white dress. Yeah. And so for some, if they're not there yet, they may not be there yet.
True.
So it's finding out where he is in his life. Is he ready just for another long-term relationship? Or he's ready to commit and have someone carry his last name?
Gotcha. Okay. Tony has a date with Marcia. And he does say that Marcia doesn't come as aggressive as Morgan. So
here we go with that word, aggressive.
And aggressive, maybe assertive might be the better way of putting it. I think they mean more assertive, yes. But Marcia's like, she has to warm up and trust the connection. In other words, she could be very interested. And from what I'm getting from her, she's saying, I could be assertive, but I need to know that, because she even says, I need to know that it's a safe place.
And that's hard when you're in this type of environment and people are dating multiple people. Mm-hmm. I was like, I would be assertive when you decide you're going to pick me, because you be all up on Morgan. So, and if y'all getting any type of intimate, like he did kiss mm-hmm. Morgan. Mm-hmm. So I would tell him, like, I'll be assertive when I know you're going to pick me.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm keeping it light. I like you. I'll verbalize what I'm seeing and the potential there. But you're doing really well playing your role of getting all these women interested in you.
Yeah, because she does ask about his connections. Marcia asks about his connections, and he's like, I've got some good. She's like, no, give me the order. I need to know where we are. And he's like, well, it's you and Morgan. She's like, no, I need to know. And so he does kind of say that you guys are different. There's different vibes that are coming from you. And she does, and he kind of throws it back to her or back on her and says, well, Morgan is more assertive, more intentional. And Marcia's like, yeah, I could probably be more intentional. I could be more assertive. But she's like, I had to know that this was a safe place. She's like, you didn't objectify me like some of the other women have been objectified. She's like, so those are the things that for her can help her to open up more to him, to make her say, you're my top choice or my top pick.
So we will see.
Yep.
Because I understand he's like, men want to know that they're wanted.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I get that. So, but at the same time, when I'm saying I want you, doesn't mean for you to then choose someone else.
True. Right. Both men and women go where the attention is. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. So, Mark Anthony, Jeffrey, Tony, and Janique go out on a date. And Mark Anthony comes prepared with a pack of straws.
You didn't think he would bring straws?
I mean, a pack of straws?
Well, if he bought it, he ain't going to just take out a couple of straws. I can see.
I'm just saying, who carries around straws? Now, I know some people have like they have like a metal straw that they'll take around because they're environmentally conscious and they want to make sure. But I don't know about carrying a pack of straws around.
I think he probably went to the store and like, I'm just going to buy a bunch of stuff and threw it in a bag.
Okay.
That's my thought.
That's your thoughts. Okay. Got you. Janique does say that the process is overwhelming to her just because there's a lot going on. Mm-hmm. A lot of, you're being pulled in a lot of different directions. Mm-hmm.
Probably having a lot of different conversations.
Exactly. And then trying to have to keep track of conversations and what's being said. And then, and not just from men to her, but also women talking about their other experiences. Mm-hmm. So trying to keep track of all that. And yes, she did come in the middle, so she did come a little behind with some things. Jeffrey talks about her single motherhood and how that was for her as far as even birthing and choosing people and not having someone to share things with and what have you.
And so Mark Anthony thought that her being vulnerable at that point. So like here you can see her talking about herself and her child.
Right.
So that's why I feel like the connection between Mark Anthony and her, because she's being more vulnerable. And I would say this is her being herself.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Talking about those events. Because I couldn't imagine having to be pregnant and giving birth by myself.
Right.
So granted, I give her sharing those experiences at that moment. Now, Janique, am I saying her name right?
Janique, yeah.
Janique, she was like, I am not feeling Mark Anthony. Because I'm going to tell you exactly what I want. How I want it, when I want it. And every time she responds, she's like, I'm not feeling it with him. But Tony, I am feeling it.
And Tony said that things changed from the conversation with Janique. So,
because I think Tony, again, is indicating very clear he needs someone to know what they want so they know what he wants.
Right.
And see how well that fits together.
Yeah. So, all right. So, we get to the dinner.
Yep.
Everybody's at the dinner.
Talking,
Mingling. Doing shots. Morgan and Lyndon are over in the corner somewhere talking. And he says that they gravitate towards each other, that he wasn't intending to make her the first person he goes and talks to, but they just kind of did that, right? And then Lyndon says it's hard to make other connections because Morgan stands out for him. Tony over on the side, mean mugging like, I see y'all over there. And he like, look, Lyndon ain't got a chance. Morgan over there buttering him up, but he ain't it. She coming home to me.
Is he? I mean, like, because this is a great time to connect with Marcia, see where she check in with her. But you all over in Morgan's business. So if you really do feel like that's the best connection for you, then you might need to go ahead and say that and get it over with. Yeah. But
Sue-Ann is talking with Anthony, and he feels that it's more cordial. She tries to open up and be a little transparent with him, and he does not respond. That's what she says.
Her saying anything that was very
transparent.
Yeah.
I think she was just looking for more of, are you feeling me or are you not feeling me? Is kind of what I was getting. Okay. But she says that his lack of reciprocity is triggering to her. That's what she said.
I know. I remember that part. I don't know. No. I think Anthony's a really nice guy, and I think he's trying, but I don't think she's giving much to the conversation.
No.
To show that she's interested.
No.
Again, a man wants to know you're interested. He's not going to keep, coming to you and you're not interested.
Yeah.
So I think she's really stuck on Blake. So I think that's why she's at this point kind of just pushing men aside. Because I feel like she's decided who she wants to connect with.
Yeah.
I just feel that.
Okay. So then, all of a sudden, surprise, surprise, Tommy shows up.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, Tommy, yay, clapping.
What you about to do?
Doing cartwheels, everything. So Tommy sits down and he's like, look, we got to talk. Got a phone call. Andre, who went out because of COVID. And according to what Tommy told us originally, said he's going to step away from the process.
Which makes sense because you're going to be gone about 2 weeks. I mean, like for safety reason, they probably said, hey, we're going to make it.
Again, the order right now is 5 days.
I know.
So long story short, Andre wants to come back into the process. And so Tommy's like, how y'all feel about that? Jeffrey's sitting there like, uh-oh. She said her brain went blank is what she said.
And I don't understand because she said earlier in this episode that he was her strongest connection. But she had to move on.
Right. And she says that she couldn't stop thinking about Andre, but now she has her connection with Mark Anthony and with Blue. But it almost gave the feeling of, how somebody get caught cheating? That's like the look that she had on her face was like she just got caught cheating. What? That's
like the dude you've been seeing on the side shows up like, hey,
right,
I missed you.
Like you out to dinner with your side piece and your husband who been in the military, your significant other who been in the military comes in to surprise you and you're like, that's how it was for her. Okay. Blue says,
that's my boy, come on.
First he says he had a connection with who I'm having a connection with, which is Jeffrey. It's kind of not fair, but okay, bring him back in.
Because Blue was like, I'm confident in who I am.
Right.
And if it's for me, it's going to happen. So Blue was like, all right, come on. Everybody else all the men wanted him to come back. So I don't know, because they want him to hang out or they feel like he didn't have connection. I don't know. Or they're like, okay, more competition, the better.
Yeah.
So, but some of the women are like, okay, whatever.
Cynthia was cheesing.
Cynthia was like, that was my strongest connection.
Yes.
And she was sad.
Yes.
That he was gone.
Yes.
You know, and I'm like, y'all ain't talking to these dudes who gone from the process.
But I also want to, because
everybody, we found out that he was still talking to some of the people.
But my thing also is that this is the first time we've had somebody come back, because we've had people had to leave before because of different situations.
Yes.
Like I think it was the last Miami episode, last Miami season where someone left.
Situation.
He had a family situation.
Yes.
After the day of the mixer, basically.
Right. Before you even got started good.
So my thing is, don't know what the family situation was, but it's still, you could have brought him back, in my opinion, because if you have something where it's like a death in the family or something like that, you're going to take some time, yes, to go deal with that, but he could have come back into the situation.
You just said he had a death in the family and he's going to come back into the situation?
Well, okay, depending upon how close it is.
He said it was his mother. So
was it his mother? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It was his mom.
Okay.
So,
maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that.
No, they wouldn't come back, but he was sick with COVID. So I can understand him coming back. Now,
once you're gone, you're gone.
Now, I can understand him feeling behind. Like, hey, I haven't been here a while. Mm-hmm. I'm only getting, a couple texts a week, just checking on me, and that's it. So, but if they said it was okay.
It's okay.
And so they said it was okay while Jeffrey was still frozen. He done bust in the door because Tommy was like, oh, it's been awkward. Y'all said no because he was like right outside. Yeah. Like, oh man.
Yeah, production was holding him back like,
go ahead, go home.
All right, act like you had a phone call, Tommy. Okay. All right, Andre, start walking in the door. Go ahead, walk in now. There you go. So.
Did he really have COVID?
Could he been on a secret spy mission? Or getting the top bun done, or what? I don't know.
Getting the top bun done. They told him to hold off for 2 weeks and then come back.
So dinner. Tommy says that this dinner is the halfway point, and that tonight, somebody going home.
No, 2 people going home.
The man and a woman are going home. Yes.
So they started asking.
And Tommy's like, okay, this is your chance. Say it with your chest. Say what's on your mind concerning any of the singles that are here. Mm-hmm. So Andre is like, look, I ain't been here, so let me just say what I gotta say. And he says, I stayed in contact with some of y'all, but he was disappointed in Mercedes.
Right. And Mercedes was like, you ain't a part of the process. And I'm like, it's funny, since I didn't feel like that was his top connection. Mm-mm. I thought he was really feeling Cynthia. Why you care?
Because he also kind of threw a shot. Because he was also like, I don't know if that's just, who you are. Maybe you're not in tune with your emotions.
Right.
It's like, dude.
What does that got to do with you not being here because of COVID?
And not Cynthia, but Mercedes like, I got to keep it a bean. You ain't here.
Right.
I got to focus on other folks because we in this process.
Correct.
You out the process.
You are out the process.
Now, after this process, we reconnect at the reunion or something because that's happened.
It has happened.
Cool.
But you are
in the process. Yes.
Bro, I'm hearing that there's a lot of other good connections you had. So why you care about me? Why are you worried about me?
Yeah.
Stay in your lane.
Yep. Stay in quarantine. All right. So Marcia addresses Anthony, saying that they have connected much easier outside of the process than they have within the process. Which I don't necessarily... Is she saying that they connect not on their dates, maybe on the phone? Because... And I consider all of this the process.
I consider it all the process myself. And, I don't know how long they sit there or if they make them talk a little bit more than when they're eating, That could be different from different people, how they feel when they're being on camera. Until you get used to it, it could be probably very awkward.
Yeah.
And so maybe she feels like she can't be like her authentic self and say what she would want to say.
Yeah.
That would be camera worthy. I don't know.
Possibly.
She could cuss or something. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that's part of who she is.
Right.
So, but you're in it. So you have to work through it.
Yep. Jeffrey says that she never really connected with Anthony. They just never really connected. Cynthia's like, Anthony is amazing and intentional and ready for love. In other words, Jeffrey, you don't know what you're talking about. But she does say Mark Anthony He a little young,
Mm-hmm.
and he ain't ready for love.
Mm-hmm.
She not sure he's ready to love.
And he ain't disagreeing. He like,
Janique says, "Yeah, I ain't got no spark with Mark Anthony. It ain't working." Then Sue Ann says that maybe she's not on the same page with Mark Anthony. She says he's still a little young. He learning stuff about himself. He trying to figure out what he want in life.
and he's shaking his head. He's like, y'all women y'all reading my book. Y'all reading me left and right. So
Mark Anthony then comes back and he's like, yeah, he's incompatible with Sue Ann because of their plans, which again to me speaks to Sue Ann being maybe a little more established in life, maybe a little more goal oriented, with her statement saying Mark Anthony's not sure what he wants. She's like, you still trying to figure your life out. You trying to figure out what you want to do with your life. She's like, I've got what I want to do in my life. I know where I want to go. So all of the things that the ladies are saying concerning Mark Anthony do speak volumes, and they do match up, right? It's not just one person's opinion. It's all, which could be why he and Jeffrey mesh, because they figuring out life together.
it's possible. Or she's not at a place where she thinks that's important to her.
True.
Because maybe she just wants to be in a good relationship.
Yep.
And that's okay if that's where you are.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone's at different places in life. And I'm not going to be with someone who's not. Because like for Sue Ann, I think she's in her early 40s, right? Sue Ann,
Late 30s.
Or late 30s. Mm-hmm. And we've already established our career and everything. We're just waiting for that right relationship to come along so that we can solidify and be, I'm assuming her goal, Sue Ann, talking about Sue Ann,
right,
is to be married.
True.
So, yeah. And my thing is that he was in total agreement with that.
Mm-hmm.
So, pick the person that's going to be on the same level with you.
Yep.
Because if you ain't ready to go there, it's not going to last.
If you ain't ready to jump up to the next level, don't go.
Don't go.
Not Mark Anthony, but Tony says that his initial of Sue Ann was that she was holding back, that she had a wall up, what have you. And he's like, I'm not even sure why you were here. He's like, I don't know why you was here. You just here.
Yeah.
Then Andre says that he didn't have a chance to connect with Sue Ann much either. That's his least connection. And he says that he feels that she's above other people. She does give that vibe.
That
she's superior, which is why it's a good match with her with Blake, because Blake gives the feeling that, or gives the impression also that he feels he's superior.
And the tendency is, right, and I'm not saying that this is across the board,
right,
but I feel like when people get more and more educated and they feel like they have this,
it's your emotional intelligence, right?
Correct.
And if you don't have the emotional intelligence to connect with people on whatever level they're on,
correct,
then it can come off that you are feeling superior, you're correct, feeling up, not, correct, arrogant or what have you.
Correct.
And so Blake does say that, oh, Sue Ann's wonderful, she's amazing, what have you. And he's like, well, I know Janique wants kids, and I'm done having kids, so I can't provide that for her. And Janique's like, I wasn't looking for that, because it's weird talking to you. She's like, it's uncomfortable talking to Blake. And she says again that Blake feels that he's superior to everyone else. Mm-hmm. Morgan says that Blake could be more clear and that she did not enjoy their initial conversation back at the mixer. Mm-hmm. She said that he kind of was trying to put her in a box, and she's like, don't do that. And she's also like that he wasn't very nice to her. Mm-hmm. And she's like, plus, I kind of believe Jeffrey.
Mm-hmm. Was it her, or I thought it was Mark Anthony who said that?
No, it was Morgan. It was Morgan that said that she also has in her mind as far as what Blake said to her. And then Lyndon, as Blake and Jeffrey are going back and forth, Lyndon's like, my boy Blake is cool, but I believe Jeffrey.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was a man.
Yeah,
you were making
it was
it like it was Morgan that
well,
said it.
because Morgan said that she had in the back of her mind what Jeffrey had said about Blake as well. So that was also coloring her opinion of Blake.
Okay. And that's when he started chiming up that she wasn't telling the truth.
Right.
So, yes. So that's when Lyndon was like, yeah, I think I believe Jeffrey over Blake.
Yes.
And so with that being the case, then it's like, okay, so if there's the truth there and it's more on Jeffrey's side, then he needs to make a decision. If Sue-Ann's going to be his person, he just needs to state that. Because there have been couples who stated who they preferred and stuck with that one person. And they've lasted to the end with no issues. So he don't need to be going around, because so far he's done cut off connection with the majority of these women anyway.
Most of the women are not feeling him, period. So he, Blake says he never said that. He essentially calls her a liar, right?
That's what he does.
Tommy says, so Jeffrey, is what's going on. Jeffrey's like, bless his heart.
She's like, I'm just not going to entertain it anymore.
Y'all know y'all done had a grandmother that said, bless his heart. That's what she did. So then Blake comes back again, and Jeffrey's like, he's controlling, and he means well, but he struggles with being authentic. And then she's like, by the way, while we talking about this and while we getting out our feelings about everybody in this process, Sue-Ann, stay in your lane.
I need more content, because at this point she hasn't said anything about her.
I agree.
And she mentioned that the last episode in the lounge. So I want to see all this cut footage on the floor.
Yes. Where
Sue-Ann is still poking at the bear.
Right. Because in this episode, we didn't see anything where Sue-Ann poked at Jeffrey. Last episode, we had a disagreement as far as I felt that Sue-Ann did poke the bear and Jeffrey retaliated. In this one, Sue-Ann didn't say anything concerning Jeffrey as far as what we saw.
Right.
And Jeffrey is like, I'm still going to say something about you.
I'm like, show the footage. Show the backstory of this story.
So,
because I would love to know.
And I'm sure it'll come out at the reunion.
If not, maybe, Sue-Ann would come on.
Sue-Ann or Jeffrey or whoever, somebody who is sitting there. Maybe Lyndon, you watching it go back and forth. Maybe you got some insight for us. Or Marcia, you've been on the channel. Let us know. But then next week, so we leave with the cliffhanger. We don't know who's going home.
Because it's like Tommy is talking to the men like, okay, who's going home, or are you going to save one?
Right.
Because they still have this golden ticket to save someone.
Correct.
And no one's used it yet. Correct. Or no one's allowing them to use it yet.
Right. Because DeMario wanted to use it for Corvaya. Right. As far as what we see next week. I
wonder if he didn't want them to use it because they knew that he might not stay.
It's possible. But I wonder, because there is a very hard conversation it looks like Morgan is having with Blake. And it gives me the impression that Blake is probably going to go home. Now, he may not be one of the two that goes home from the dinner, because they'll probably let them go at the dinner. But it's very possible that the end of next episode is going to be letting one of the men go. And I think that might be Blake, just because of that conversation. And it's an odd pairing to have Morgan and Blake on a date.
They did it on purpose. It's for drama.
It is for drama, but the reason they would do that pairing, in my opinion, is to let Blake go. That's the reason I would say that they would do that. I don't think that they would do that just...
You're thinking that the reason why they're meeting up is that she's about to tell him that he's gone.
Exactly. That's my thought.
It's possible.
It's possible. I don't think they would set them up on a date to try and... If that's the case, set him and Jeffrey back up on a date. You want drama.
Well, but you want to make it with different people to see that he has a problem with women and whole.
I think that's been well established by now.
It has it?
I think so. All right, so that's it for this one. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know if we missed anything. And, of course, we'll see you next time. Have a great one. Be blessed.
Bye.